me through your name, the origin of the name, and where it started, and to what it is today.
Well, my mother named me Sean because when I was born to her, it was her right.
So you want to know why there is no vindication for me? Because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away without a response. That changes now, Sean. You must respond. You have no choice.
Oh boy, so get this. JayZ's ex-mistress is finally speaking out, and she's not holding back. In a shocking reveal, she claims that she was forced to have an abortion by none other than JayZ himself. Yup, you heard that right. She's calling him a monster for what went down, and she's not pulling any punches when it comes to spilling the tea. This is definitely not the kind of drama you expect from one of the biggest names in the game, but here we are. Grab your popcorn, cause this story is about to get wild. Jay's new nickname. Alright, let's get into the alleged drama between JayZ and his former mistress, Carmen Bryan. You may recognize her name from the love triangle she was caught in with JayZ and Nas. Yeah, that was a whole thing back in the day. In her memoir, It's No Secret, Carmen opens up about her relationship with JayZ, and some of the things she shares are, well, pretty hard to ignore. Carmen first met JayZ in 1995 while she was still with Nas. At first, she described him as warm, humble, and funny. Basically that smooth-talking guy you can't help but vibe with. They clicked right away, and Carmen thought they'd be lifelong friends. But things took a strange turn pretty quickly. One night, after hanging out with friends, Carmen fell asleep on the couch, and she woke up to JayZ kissing her on the lips. Yeah, you heard that right. She woke up and found him going in for a kiss. She says his lips were soft, and she melted into it, but then his hands started to roam. Nothing happened that night, but let's be real. Waking up to someone kissing you? Big red flag. But here's where it gets even more intense. Carmen claims that she was allegedly pressured by JayZ into having an abortion after she got pregnant during their affair. She was said to have felt forced into making that choice by him, and in her eyes, it was all about him controlling the situation. That's a major claim, and it adds a whole new layer to the story. She's never minced words when it comes to how he treated her, and this is one of those allegations that really makes you look at things differently.
At one point, you were pregnant by Jay?
Yes, I had a miscarriage.
Okay, this is before the whole
This is, yeah, this was like before all of that.
How far along were you?
I believe I was definitely less than 3 months. It was the first trimester. Yeah, it wasn't.
It was still early.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna have this baby and, you know, move forward with our relationship. No.
Okay. When you told Jay that you were pregnant, what was his reaction?
I told him after the fact.
Oh, you told him after?
I told him
the
after
miscarriage.
the
Okay,
fact.
so he didn't even know.
No, I told him after the fact.
Fast forward a year later, and the physical side of their relationship finally happened. Carmen says their first time together was intense, but she was still cautious, wanting to make sure Jay's intentions were good before moving forward. Now, Carmen's story highlights a pattern that's hard to ignore. Whether it's how he pursued her while she was still with Nas, or the way things played out during their affair, there's this strange, controlling vibe to how JayZ allegedly moved with women. And keep in mind, Carmen was young, impressionable, and right in the middle of this messy love triangle with two huge figures in hip-hop. Carmen's story has resurfaced lately, especially after she responded to some serious allegations against JayZ, including the 13-year-old girl situation. Now people are starting to connect the dots and wonder if there's a darker side to his character that his polished public image hasn't shown. Sure, he's a business mogul and a musical genius, but the way he's been accused of treating women, allegedly of course, yeah, it's a conversation worth having. And let's talk about that infamous 9-year affair Carmen had with JayZ. Yes, 9 years, even while she was engaged to Nas. During that time, she got pregnant, but tragically miscarried. But the moment that really had Carmen feeling disgusted was when JayZ dropped his track Super Ugly, where he rapped about sleeping with Carmen in a Jeep and leaving condoms in her daughter's car seat. Carmen says that was the moment she lost all respect for him. And can you blame her? Airing out personal details like that was just straight up disrespectful. And if you think that's messy, Nas called her in the middle of the night after hearing the song, asking, "Yo, is this about you?" And she had to admit, yeah, it's true. Carmen was dragged into the mess. And Nas wasn't exactly thrilled either. Carmen has never shied away from sharing these painful details. She even spoke to VLAD TV in 2017, revealing that the pregnancy wasn't planned, but this wasn't just some casual fling. It was complicated, emotional, and full of public drama. Looking back, the way JayZ allegedly treated Carmen in their relationship leaves a lot of questions about his character, from how he pursued her, to how he publicly aired their business in Super Ugly, and even how he allegedly pressured her into an abortion. It's hard to ignore the darker side of his actions. And this isn't just an isolated incident with JayZ, whether it's how he moved with Beyonce while holding on to his old flames, or his involvement in some shady legal situations. There's a pattern of him getting what he wants. Consequences be damned. And Carmen? Well, she's not afraid to speak out and remind everyone of that. Jay's wrongdoings. The pattern of JayZ's mistreatment of women is definitely there, and it's something that can't be ignored, whether it's mistresses, rumored flings, or public fallout with anyone who crossed his path. The stories seem to follow a similar thread. It's like every time someone speaks out, the narrative just gets more and more suspicious. Carmen Bryan? She's one of the most infamous examples of how Jay allegedly treated women. Their affair lasted nearly a decade. Yep, almost 10 years. And it overlapped with her relationship with Nas, the father of her child. Not only was she in the middle of one of hip-hop's biggest beefs, but Jay took things to a whole new level of disrespect. Let's talk about how JayZ used his music as a weapon. Remember the time when he aired out all the details of their personal life in his lyrics? Just imagine the level of humiliation Carmen must have felt when the whole world was in her business. She even admitted that this was the moment she lost all respect for him. And honestly, who could blame her? Then, there's that track, Is That Your Chick? Another song that dragged Carmen's name through the mud. JayZ and Memphis Bleek were rapping about sleeping with another man's woman. These weren't just catchy bars, they were straight-up attacks on Carmen's reputation. And guess what? She was left to pick up the pieces while everyone else moved on. And we can't forget about Kathy White, Kathy and Foxy. Kathy's name has always been wrapped in mystery. She was rumored to have had a romantic connection with JayZ, even while he was married to Beyonce. What makes her story even more eerie is how untimely her death was. She reportedly passed away in 2011 from a brain aneurysm, but conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. Some believed her death was tied to the fact that she was allegedly planning to expose details about her relationship with Jay. While there's no concrete evidence to prove this, the fact that Kathy's name keeps coming up whenever JayZ's treatment of women is discussed says a lot. It paints a picture of secrecy and damage control when it comes to the women connected to him. But she's not the only one. There's also Foxy Brown.
It's allegedly a romantical thing. It's all right, I'll say alleged, but we know. Yeah, she hit it before Beyonce.
The rumors surrounding JayZ and Foxy have been around forever, and even though both have denied anything inappropriate ever happened, the frequency with which her name pops up in stories about his relationships with women speaks volumes. She was only 15 when she signed with Rockefeller, and while both Jay and Foxy claimed their relationship was strictly professional, the hip-hop world has never stopped side-eyeing the situation.
I will say that JayZ, if he was doing ill shit like that, he was more quiet about it. You know what I mean? He was more, but then, if we be real with ourselves, it was kind of abnormal when he got with Beyonce. Like, she was pretty young when he got with her. There's rumors that he was messing with Foxy Brown when she was pretty young.
Whether or not anything went down between them, the fact that those rumors still linger shows just how much of a reputation JayZ has for how he treats women. It's one thing for a rumor to swirl around once or twice, but when the same kind of stuff keeps coming up, it's hard to just chalk it up to coincidence. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it paints a pretty ugly story. JayZ comes off as someone who treated women like they were disposable or just tools for his own gain. Whether it's Carmen getting humiliated, the mysterious circumstances surrounding Kathy White, or the persistent rumors about him and Foxy, the common thread is clear. There's been a major lack of respect for the women involved. JayZ's rise to power in the industry is legendary, but it seems like his relationships with women were just collateral damage along the way. While the media has been obsessed with his career and marriage to Beyonce, these stories from the women he allegedly mistreated haven't gone anywhere. And honestly, they don't look like they'll be disappearing anytime soon. Distorted image. JayZ's public image is basically like a masterclass in branding. The story of the kid from the Marcy Projects who turned his life around and built a billion-dollar empire, it's basically the American dream on steroids. He's the definition of a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. Not to mention, he's part of hip-hop's ultimate power couple with Beyonce, presenting himself as this family man who's all about social justice. He supports causes like prison reform and even bails out protesters when needed. In interviews, JayZ paints the picture of a man who's grown. He talks about his past mistakes, even admitting to his infidelity on 444, and champions things like therapy and accountability. On paper, he's the kind of figure everyone in the culture would want to celebrate, someone who overcame adversity, supports his family, and gives back. Sounds like a straight-up success story, right? But here's the thing. The private side of JayZ is a totally different vibe. Allegations, lawsuits, and whispers from the women in his past paint a much more complicated picture. For one, JayZ might publicly uplift women, but there are plenty of rumors out there about him using his power against them when it suits his needs. And let's talk about that devoted family man persona. Infidelity has been a consistent theme in his story, even with Beyonce standing by him through it all. The infamous elevator fight with Solange? Yeah, that's another hint at the cracks in their perfect couple image. These contradictions between JayZ's public persona and his private actions are glaring. It's like he's carefully curated this image that doesn't quite match up with what's going on behind the scenes. Now, let's talk about something Jaguar Wright, and others too, have been saying for a while. JayZ has mastered the art of controlling the narrative. The man's ability to redirect attention is pretty much unmatched. Unlike other celebrities who've had their careers derailed by scandal, JayZ always manages to shift focus back to his successes. Remember when Beyonce dropped Lemonade and it seemed like the world was ready to confirm his infidelity? That story didn't last long because suddenly, the conversation shifted to their reconciliation and, oh, her pregnancy announcement. Just like that, the world was talking about their happy family again, not the drama. Then, after the elevator fight with Solange, a moment that could have destroyed any other celeb couple, JayZ and Beyonce hit the stage with their Joint on the Run tour, and boom, the media frenzy was neutralized. Even now, with lawsuits and allegations tying JayZ to his old pal Diddy, his camp is already working overtime, shifting the focus back to protecting his family's privacy. People have already started calling out the lawsuit as full of half-truths, claiming it won't stick. This kind of damage control isn't just a coincidence. JayZ isn't just a rapper, he's a brand. And let's be real, brands don't survive scandals without meticulous damage control. He's built an empire off of his image, and he's not about to let anything ruin it. Hip-hop lately. It feels like hip-hop's floodgates have totally opened. Everything's coming to the surface, and the lawsuit against Diddy is the spark that's lighting this whole thing up. Now, the industry's being forced to face the darker sides of its biggest stars, and guess who's getting dragged back into the mess? JayZ. It's not just one thing, it's like a storm of scandals. The Carmen Bryan memoir, which many thought was old news, is suddenly back in circulation, reminding everyone of the messy, complicated relationship she had with Jay. On top of that, there's that lawsuit accusing JayZ of assault, which is raising serious questions about his past behavior and the amount of power he's had to keep things under wraps. But why now? Well, some people think the fans and insiders in hip-hop are done protecting the untouchables. They're connecting the dots, questioning all the perfectly controlled narratives, and demanding some accountability from the artists they once idolized. Let's be real. In today's social media age, old scandals don't stay hidden for long. One TikTok, one resurfaced interview, or a trending hashtag can bring up stuff from decades ago. And JayZ, as powerful as he is definitely not immune to that. Now let's talk about Beyonce, because you know she's always going to be part of this conversation. She's been JayZ's partner for over 20 years, and their marriage is always marketed as the ultimate power couple. But every time a new story about Jay's alleged mistreatment of women surfaces, it's impossible not to wonder, what has Beyonce had to endure behind the scenes? And here's where it gets really interesting. Beyonce's silence. She's always kept her personal life private, but does her quiet support of JayZ mean she's accepting everything, or is she just choosing to keep family matters out of the public eye? Let's not forget that she's also a mom with 3 kids. With all these scandals coming to light, how does she navigate this with her family? Jay-Z himself has even admitted that he's worried about how these allegations might affect their kids, especially Blue Ivy. Honestly, it's hard not to admire Beyonce's strength, but you've got to ask, at what cost? She's built her empire alongside Jay-Z, but how much of that has been about cleaning up his messes behind the scenes? The resurfacing of these stories. It's not just about Jay-Z, it's about a bigger reckoning in hip-hop. And Beyonce's involvement? Well, that adds a whole other layer to this whole situation. Fans are left wondering, how much more is going to come out? And will the cracks in this power couple's image ever really show? One thing we know for sure, it all comes down to power dynamics. Jay-Z's always been in a position of power, whether it's as a rapper, a businessman, or Beyonce's husband. That power often kept him from being under much scrutiny. But the stories from the women he's crossed paths with are starting to tell a very different story. So, what do you think? Do these stories give us a glimpse of who Jay-Z really is behind the scenes, or are they just part of the messy world of fame and relationships? Let us know what you think down below. And don't forget to check out this next video too.